of Hoople Care, and I'm the responsible person overseeing full registered services covering learning disabilities, reopenment, and discharge to assess, or as it's known as acronym as D2A. As part of my role, I'm also the nominated individual with CQC, supported by my senior management and registered management team. In addition to this, I'm also part of Heritage's Adult Safeguarding Board, where I chair the training and workforce subgroup. I'll pass over to Tammy now, who will do a brief introduction around herself and go through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Morning, everybody. I'm really excited to talk to you today around in Safeguarding Adults Week. My name's Tammy Moss, and I'm the Quality Manager for Hoople Care. So I look after the quality aspects of the services and support the registered managers in their services. So a really lovely varied role and really enjoy it. We're really pleased that we can come and present today. So this is a presentation style around prevention in practice. So just to sort of introduce then, so Safeguarding Adult Week is actually a really great time for us all to come together and have a real focus on safeguarding. And of course, it's important all the time and it's embedded in everything that we do. So we are care providers. So this is coming from a care provider perspective, but I'm hoping there's some really lovely key takeaways that you can take away for your own yourself or for your organisation. And it's a great opportunity for all of us to come together and raise that awareness of important safeguarding issues. And it gives us, a time to stand united, that safeguarding is everybody's responsibility, and us all working together, really does bring better outcomes for people. So the theme this year is prevention and act before abuse. So our theme today is prevention in practice. So I'm just going to talk now a little bit what we're going to cover today. Prevention in practice and look at some aspects around that. Having that importance of having a safeguarding mindset. Having a look at closed cultures, it's really important to see those key characteristics of closed cultures. And then let's turn that around and look at the key priorities to having a successful open culture. Looking at some different prevention measures. So Stephen will be talking to you a little bit around safer recruitment and what we do. And obviously a culture of consistent learning, continuous improvement, which is really, really important, that we do learn from every situation. There's always some key learning to situations that because every situation is unique. Just want to cover this slide. So why is prevention in practice so important? And I did a lot of research around this as well. And I just felt that the Anne Craft Trust, they got some amazing resources, and I have put the link on at the end. But they sum this up beautifully, I thought. So safeguarding prevention in practice is crucial because it helps to prevent harm before it occurs, ensuring that individuals are protected from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. It's a proactive approach that involves identifying potential risks, taking early action, and creating systems and policies to prevent abuse, neglect, or exploitation. This practice is essential for maintaining the health, well-being, and human rights of individuals, especially those who are vulnerable. By implementing effective safeguarding measures, organisations can create safe environments and support vulnerable individuals to live with dignity and independence. And that's what we all want, isn't it? That's what's really, really important. So I just felt that summed it up beautifully to share with you today. So I'm just going to go now to talk a little bit around a safeguarding mindset, which is really, really important. And I was reflecting on our team in particular, and I feel that we've had really, really good, robust training, but we've also got a team that's very, very experienced. And I felt talking to Stephen that I feel our team is safeguarding confident. We know with our experience that every situation is unique, and we need to think about how we involve the individual. So making safeguarding personal, which is important. And it's a do with approach and not a done to approach. But we've constantly got a safeguarding mindset that's embedded in everything that we do. It's about keeping our residents and our clients safe, But a safeguarding mindset is the difference between not just ticking a box for compliance, but actually it's being professionally curious. It's having an inquiry mindset. It's working with the individual and what the outcomes and things that they also want to achieve. So leading a safeguarding culture really involves creating an environment where safeguarding is a core value, where our residents and our clients are absolutely informed, and it's embedded in every aspect of the organisation's operations. So we're seeing our thinking all of the time. It's a place where we feel safeguarding confident, empowered by knowledge, and where we have learnt from experiences. And if we look at the Care Act, just in the next slide, we also work to those main principles within the Act. So the Care Act did introduce a new series of duties and responsibilities for care providers, but particularly for local authorities. The 6 principles of safeguarding under the Care Act are essential for ensuring that vulnerable individuals receive the best possible care and support. So obviously empowerment, so we do everything that we can to empower our residents and our clients, make sure they've got relevant information so they can make those informed decisions. It's about protection, it's about prevention, a proportionate response. It's about partnership, where we work with others, with different agencies to get the right support for the individual, but it's also taking accountability. So that's really, really important to us. And if we think about prevention, the saying prevention is better than cure. And this does really ring true for this principle of safeguarding, where there are signs that abuse, harm, or neglect could occur. It's essential that action is taken to try and stop that person being put in danger or coming to harm. So that's really, really important that we think about that. But these 6 principles, we sort of work to those also as part of our care standards and our values and our everyday practices. So I'm just going to go now a little bit into closed cultures. So the Care Quality Commission, they've got a definition of a closed culture, and I'm just popping that onto the screen now. And they've defined it a poor culture that can lead to harm, including human rights breaches such as abuse. In these services, people are more likely to be at risk of deliberate or unintentional harm. Any service that delivers care can have a closed culture. It can happen to any organisation. So it's important that we always try and make sure that we're, aware of that, and things can, develop in, gradually and turn the wrong way. So it's important that we're always open to making sure that we're doing all we can to keep that open culture. So a definition continued of a closed culture is characterised by lack of transparency, open communication, and external scrutiny. It can lead to increased risk of harm, abuse, and violation of human rights. So we need to always obviously be very mindful of that. And some of the key characteristics to this is implementing some of these strategies. So it's around secrecy and restrictive information flow. It's about having hierarchical structures that discourage dissent, minimal or very little involvement of service users, families and staff in decision making, so them not having a voice, them not being involved. Lack of desire to change, we've got resistance to change. So staff may be accustomed to existing practices, making them resistant to new approaches, or they could be fear of consequences, or employees might fear of any repercussions if they did speak up or change in established routines. The other factors to consider is lack of training and resources, not having really robust inductions. So staff may not receive adequate training that they need, or they're not informed on policies and procedures, or not understanding the importance of having an open culture and making sure that, we are making sure that we're doing all we can to listen to our residents, our clients, our staff, our families, our friends, professionals that come into the service. making sure that it could be that we've got resource constraints such as limited funding and staffing can hinder the ability to implement comprehensive training for them and supportive systems. And the other main factor as well is having poor leadership, weak management support. So if leadership does not prioritise or model open communication, staff may feel discouraged from adopting these practices or frightened, as I say, to speak up. Inconsistent messages, having conflicting messaging from management, and that can really create confusion between the staff teams and expectations and priorities. Another factor is that can demonstrate a bit of a red flag around a closed culture is having a high staff turnover. And then we've got instability. Frequent changes in staff then can obviously disrupt continuity and make it very difficult to establish a cohesive culture. Having limited external oversight. So, in our services, we welcome professionals coming in, we welcome feedback, and we'll talk about our open culture and our prevention in practices a little bit further down in the presentation. But obviously, isolation of residents, them not being involved within their environment, having limited social activities or access in the community and things like that. So these are sort of more key characteristics of a closed culture. Autonomy is suppressed. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavour. It's not an exhaustive list, but there are some different things to also consider. So isolation of individuals from their communities, where they're not accessing the community or going out to external long-term stays in care provisions, weak leadership and inadequate staff training, poor inductions, but also a lack of vision, ethos and care values. It's really, really important that you're very clear about care values and our ethos of our services. And just a last look before we turn this around really, but the high staff turnover and low staff morale is a real clear factor if we've got a closed culture. Lack of feedback mechanisms for service users and staff, an incline of staff morale, which then obviously that impacts then on the quality of care. Consider the effects, increased reports of abuse or neglect, and then the consequences for those individuals that we care and support. Consequences for those are the increased vulnerability of our individuals that we're supporting, poor quality of care, so they're not receiving a high quality of care or a good quality of life, breaches of their human rights and dignity, abuse and neglect possibly occurring, then long-term psychological effects on individual or even physical effects. So that's really, really important. So let's start to have a look now on how we can really create an open culture. I think I've mentioned those, but preventions that we do have in practice with our services. So I'm just going to go back to that. So we've got a really dedicated and robust leadership team, and I know Stephen's going to talk a little bit more about that in depth. We've got very robust safer recruitment practices in place. And outset from our adverts and our interview, we even talk about the importance of safeguarding and how we protect those that we support. We've got clear messages in our messaging about it's important that our residents or our clients, that we enable their independence and they have live the best quality of life possible whilst we are supporting them. We've got staff that we've got a really good training offer. So our mandatory training is really, really robust, but we also have other training where we feel it's identified as needing to care for particular individuals. But we want to make sure that our staff feel competent and confident in the role that they do. So they feel really empowered, they're informed with knowledge, they feel confident, they feel they know what they need to do. We've also got designated safeguarding leads within our group as well. So that's really, really important. And staff feel very, very clear who they need to go to if they have concerns. We've got very, very robust policies and procedures in place. This is part of staff's induction. We talk about how they are implemented in practice. They're not just a piece of paper. They are really, really good documents that actually relate to practice. And we've also got very good whistleblowing mechanisms as well. So we've got a very good procedure around whistleblowing. We've got the mechanisms, what we call a Hoople voice. So that's where anybody can actually contact that anonymously or just, where they can feedback if they've got any concerns. And that actually goes straight to our head of Hoople Care as well. We carry out surveys. As part of quality visits, I talk to staff. We have staff meetings. We just recently had a Hoople Care Hero event, but we give opportunity for them to feedback if they've got any concerns, what's going well, what's not going well. Our staff have very good supervisions that are meaningful supervisions. There's lots of things that we do there to support our staff team. So obviously other things that we do. So for our individual, we have it's always a person-centered approach. So then we have our care and support plans, and they're all very, very personalized. We also identify individuals' personal risks, and they are different for everybody. And then we put measures in place. We work with our residents and our clients around their personal care and support plan or their advocates. And we make sure that they are really meaningful. They're outcome focused. We have effective IPC practices. We look at the environment. We make sure that it's a safe environment. We've got lots of health and safety checks and things in place. Lots of audits. We do a lot of surveillance around quality surveillance. So we've got lots of various methods around compliance. So audits, observations. We talk to staff, we talk to residents, we talk to families. So we've got a really, really commitment to quality improvement, and we've got service improvement plans in place for our service so that we keep on making sure that we're continuously improving. We respond to feedback. We respond to actions we've identified in audits, and we make sure that we are continuously looking at situations and learning from situations. That's really, really important. So if we do have an incident, we have a safeguarding scenario, we make sure that we look at that, we debrief from that, and we try and do all we can to learn from it, to try and prevent things happening again, but making sure most of all that we're getting the best outcome for our individuals that we support. We make sure that our residents and our clients are really informed. They know how they can share a worry. They know that actually if something's not right, they know how they could report or complain if they need to. So we make sure they're very, very informed. We have easy read formats as well for different individuals, so that we make sure that we've got accessible information for our residents and our clients. But what we do too is have a continuous learning from situations. And, that can be any incident, any safeguarding scenario. If we have any complaints, we look at it and we see, even though we have very minimal complaints, but we do make sure that we've tried to cover every area and learn from everything that we can. Okay, I think I hand over to you now, Stephen.
There we go. I had trouble finding the unmute button there. But,
oh, bless you.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. I suppose from my part of the slides, I'm going to cover more around leadership and how that impacts culture and behaviours, and also linking back to prevention in practice. So, I mean, obviously, leadership plays an important role in setting the culture of an organisation. And it is important as leaders we show a zero tolerance to abuse and neglect. And I wanted to start sharing a few leadership styles. And I did a bit of Google this morning, and it increases every time I Google, but currently there's approximately 20 different leadership styles, and they all have slightly different nuances. And I thought for the purpose of today, I'll focus on just four, just to sort of emphasize the importance of leadership and maybe the difference in those styles and how that would impact potential safeguarding. So the first one I'm going to cover is autocratic leadership. This is where a leader makes decisions unilaterally and with little input from the team. For example of that is a care manager enforcing strict protocols during an emergency situation. Obviously, the pros for that is a quick decision making around critical decisions. You've also got clear roles and expectations. In regards to cons, though, this can reduce creativity and morale. There's also a risk of disengagement or resentment, and potentially the behaviours are the team tend to comply but feel undervalued and less innovative to thinking on their feet, so to speak. Moving to democratic leadership, this is a leader that encourages participation and values team input. An example could be in a team meeting where all staff contribute in ideas for improving patient care. The pros of that is building trust and collaboration and higher job satisfaction and ownership. However, as there is a negative point with this, the decision making can be very slow, and the risk of that is a risk of conflict if consensus is hard to reach. Behaviours from that as a team do feel empowered, motivated, and more committed, though. So there are a lot of positives that do come out from that leadership style. Transformation leadership, a leader that inspires and motivates vision and enthusiasm. An example is a leader introduced a new digital care system and motivating staff to embrace that change. And I can relate to that one more recently because we just moved across to our digital care system literally a year ago, which was PASS. And that took a lot of motivational and talking to staff and encouraging them to embrace change and all of those sort of things. The pros of that is it does drive innovation and continuous improvement. It does promote strong team loyalty and engagement. However, one thing to worry about is it can lead to burnout if expectations are too high. It does require very strong communication in regards to your team, very clear, concise communication. The behaviours from that is the team becomes more proactive, creative, and highly committed also. And the final one I just wanted to cover, because just I find this one quite interesting, is the laissez-faire leadership, which is pretty much a leader that provides minimal guidance and allows full autonomy. An example is an experienced care manager, and that allows them to basically make up their own schedule without close supervision. However, you can understand the risk there if you have new members of staff with limited sort of experience or skills, and you've got a laissez-faire style of management. The pros is it does encourage independent and self-management, works very well with highly trained or highly skilled teams. However, there is a risk of confusion or lack of accountability. Performance may suffer without direction, and generally the behaviours impact from that would be the team may thrive if self-motivated but can struggle without clear goals. It is believed in modern leadership should be situation-based and adapt to style depending on the circumstances that is presented in front of them. But for safeguarding, it does require elements of a number of different leadership styles. For instance, you might find there's elements of democratic leadership or autocratic tendencies around neglect and abuse, where a leader does need to say, no, that we're doing things this way because it's the right thing to do. So there's some things there, and a takeaway from that, maybe just to do a bit of a Google and have a look at some of those leadership styles and see actually what one are you more relaxed to, and could you sort of learn a few things from that, which leads nicely to the next slide, Tammy. So this is going into strategies for improvement. You can see now where the elements of these leadership skills aid and support the following bullet points and cover some strategies. So I'll start off with encouraging open communication and feedback. We've all heard things like open door policies and no blame cultures. These are in place to ensure people openly report and feedback and talk when things don't go well, and provides a foundation of continuous improvement and learning. Training in particular, having a robust training in place where people can sense check their knowledge and talk openly about safeguarding helps promote thinking. Fostering culture is key for all of us, especially leaders, taking account when things don't go well or don't go right or go wrong, and linking back to my role as the NI nominated individual, where we constantly promote the duty of candour. A brief explanation of what that is. The duty of candour is the legal responsibility or legal and professional requirement of UK health and social care that ensures openness and honesty when things go wrong in a person's care. And finally, going on to a learning mindset, I always quote the phrase, every day is a school day. It helps me plant my thinking around learning as a continuous journey with no real end. Learning should be more linked to a quality improvement cycle rather than an academic course which ends with you get a certificate that you can put on your fridge. So it's something just to sort of make sure that, you know, all of us sort of walk away from today to say, actually, to continuously learn is a good thing. We don't always have all the right answers, and that's a good place to be. On to the next slide. I'll briefly, I think the following two slides cover the recruitment aspects, and this sort of links very much around the process. So this links very much around prevention in practice, and by recruiting individuals to demonstrate the right values and core beliefs, and linking back to safeguarding. For ourselves working in care, this links to Regulation 19 of the Health and Social Care Act 2008. The purpose of this is to make sure we employ fit and proper employees that provide care and treatment appropriate to their role. So how do we do this? And on the next slide, I'll go through some of the processes we go through within our services. So firstly, apologise, the bullet points might not be in the respective order that I cover them, but I'll go through the process that I cover in my head. Way before we think about the roles and responsibilities, we need to think about what behaviours we're trying to recruit to. What type of person are we trying to attract, and what values must they have? And linking back to leadership styles, can you imagine if we recruited someone with a very laissez-faire style in some of our care settings? Although they might be quite nice and quite a fun person to be around, around some of the specifics and the legislation, it would be very difficult for them to have that type of attitude. And equally, someone who is more dictatorship or autocratic style, if they were delivering care in that way, it wouldn't be person-centered, and potentially some issues around safeguarding there would come out. So at Hoople Care, we started with the behaviours, and the flower, which I'll go in the next slide, on your screen, was sort of how we came about that and how we sort of introduced these behaviours we'd expect from our team. So once we're happy with the behaviours, and we can then embed these into job descriptions and personal specifications. Having these clearly defined allows candidates to see if the organisation, your organisation that they're looking to apply, is a good fit. In the design of the advert, we could include types of the person we want to be interested in hearing from. You've probably seen adverts where it says, we're looking for this type of individual. Are you this type of individual? Give us a call today. That type of thing is always great. For shortlisting, we can look at demonstrable skills and that are maybe in a CV or an application form, and link this back to the values. At interviews, we can use scenario-based interview questions to ascertain knowledge and understanding, but also any training needs and skills gaps around safeguarding and development of their requirements, so we can get them to be the best individual, the best care worker or manager that we're trying to recruit. Once we've decided to employ, it is our responsibility to ensure we put in place robust pre-employment checks. This stretches far greater than just checking a DBS information. And we need to check qualifications. We need to go background of employment checks. And what were they like in their last role? Did they leave all of a sudden? What was their care like, for instance, that they delivered? The onboarding of good people needs to be thorough, but it also needs to be lean. We have all been in situations where we've lost really good or great people due to sticky, long-winded processes. So it is wise to constantly constantly review the types of recruitment processes you go through. But it also links back to this prevention in practice. You want to try and recruit the right people, but you also want to get them with you as quickly as possible so they don't go elsewhere. Once someone is onboarded on their first day of employment, you have a robust induction and initial training must be completed. We must assure ourselves that they meet standards. And working within the training sector myself, I can tell you that there are providers out there that don't do that quite as well or as good. We get candidates come to us who say, "Oh my God, this is really great training," and you know, and it's the first time they've sat and had safeguarding training delivered in this way. Training is something you must be reviewed every year as part of your annual review cycle, part of your one-to-ones, your supervisions, and sometimes sooner. If something goes wrong, you might need to review those. And sometimes if regulations change, you need to review it also then. Completing skills gaps with your team, observations, signing off competency, all these sort of things are really key to ensure that you have really good staff that have the knowledge and skills they need to do their job in the best of their abilities. Links back to so I'll go on to the next slide, which sort of I think is about our journey, I believe. I'll let Tammy slide on to the next slide. So we've recently done as Tammy has mentioned, an all-staff briefing, and I sort of shared this slide around our journey and how we sort of made our team more robust, and especially around leadership. So, as I said, you know, our journey started in 2017 with care services, and slowly through the years we adopted. Our registration with CQC came in 2022, where I took over the nominated individual role of all the registered services. During 23 and 24, we looked inwardly on our abilities and what our gaps were, and a lot of that was around strengthening our leadership. We had ideas of what our culture, our vision needed to be, and we needed a leadership team that had the skills and capabilities to bring that to life, and as well as bringing in a lot of the electronic systems. All of these tools and support structures enable our team to do the job with the confidence that they need, but also to provide stretch and challenge when things don't go right, and we can question ourselves. And it links back to that prevention in practice. And going into the future, you know, we'll strive to continually do that and improve where we are, and also embrace technology where possible, and also be a bit hesitant and question things where we can. So I'll move on to the next slide, which sort of briefly goes how we sort of brought our vision and our behaviours to life. So we initially met with a group of managers and some of our staff, and we sort of asked questions. Well, what do we how would we want individuals to feel when being supported by us, and how do we want to come across when we hold meetings or interact with professionals and partners? And this is where these values came in, and the behaviours, and we delivered this to the staff, and it was very warmly received. Innovative, I'll start from different areas around, but innovation or innovative is allowing our staff to think creatively to improve the outcomes of the people we support. We need to be courageous, be brave, question and challenge to ensure people receive the support they need, especially that one around safeguarding. Inclusive is involve everyone in the services we support and provide, accepting people without judgment and embracing our differences. Trustworthy is to take ownership and personal integrity in everything we do, and empowering is to enable our team, and we should support them to be the best versions of themselves. And that links back to not only our staff team, but also the people we support. Our end goal is to enable the individuals we support and our employees at Hoople Care to be the best versions of themselves, and it links back to prevention in practice there as well. to help communicate these behaviours and prevention in practice, we did conduct an employee meeting, as Tammy mentioned, and we just shared the strategic vision, the journey, and the next slide is a short clip to bring those into life, which we'll share with you now. Thank you. There should be sound with the clip. Angela, apologies for that. We just have to hum along to ourselves. The images of on the slide are all of our teams supporting residents of our service. So and there's a little bit of music behind the scenes, really. I think that's it. There we go. Final slide, which leads me to hand back to Tammy. And thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, so just going to come back now just to reflect on our own culture and practices, obviously to build a strong, positive, open culture. So us by having a strong, robust oversight, strong leadership, creating openness and leading to better outcomes for all of our clients and our residents that we support. From a staff perspective, so benefits from our staff with our approach. We've got engaged and happier staff. They feel they can contribute. We're making sure that they're involved even further going forward next year. We've got plans to involve them in lots of sort of task and finish groups and being part of those, where we're looking at different aspects like job descriptions, policies and procedures, competencies and things like that. But where we feel they're engaged and happier, that'll improve our staff retention as well within our services. And obviously that impacts on delivering a better quality of care for our residents. We make sure that we've got our staff feel valued. We're making sure that they do feel appreciated. We do talk to them, and it can just be little thank yous. But it's just making sure that, you know, if they do feel valued and supported, that helps again with retention. But, you know, most of all, they feel appreciated, and you know, they'll be enable them to be the best version of themselves. They feel empowered. It's having that positive attitude, which leads to enhanced interactions with those that we support, and feeling confident with those that we support, but also and families and friends and with professionals. They are, as we've talked about through the presentation, they have very, very good training. We make sure that we keep up them professionally competent as well, so carrying out observations and different competencies within their role, identifying any areas they might need further developmental support, making sure that we are also supporting if they've, you know, talked about in their annual appraisal where they might want to complete a particular qualification. You know, we support that as well, so that career progression. And we're trying to look at within our models of staffing where we can create further career progression in different roles. We're always working to continuously improve, and we've got they're part of that continuous improvement journey. And staff feel empowered and they can speak up, and we've got different mechanisms and different ways that they can do that. Next is the benefits of those that we support with a positive culture. is making sure that we do retain good staff and they provide that better continuity of care. They know our residents better than anybody. Individuals feel safe and they feel valued and supported, and they make a really positive contribution. They've got a good quality of life, and that's really important, that we're providing the best outcomes for our individuals that we support. We've got trained staff again is in there again. As you can see, it's a theme right throughout this. Our residents feel safe and secure within their environments, and that they feel that emotional warmth as well. That's really, really important. They feel emotionally secure. And those we support do feel very empowered. That's really, really important. And we do keep them informed. And, you know, different professionals come and support depending on the individual needs of our service users. And then we look at our management oversight as well. So our managers within our services, they carry out their quality walkarounds every day. They talk to the residents, they check in on the residents really regularly. They know them really, really well. We have regular staff meetings with the staff. They carry out supervisions with the staff. We have care safety huddles daily. So that's not just handovers when we hand over on shifts, but we have huddles mid-morning, mid-afternoon, mid-evening, where we talk about our residents and make sure that, you know, if we're concerned about anybody, we take the appropriate actions. Observations are carried out informally and formally as part of the QA process. And we also make sure that we do try and involve our individuals to give feedback via surveys, talking to them via audit. At our Hillside service a few months ago, we had a resident actually that was supporting with a dignity audit, and that really empowered them. They really enjoyed doing that. And it was a really, really lovely way to capture evidence of what we're doing really, really well, but actually supported us to look at things from a different perspective, which was really good. And obviously we welcome external visitors, those that come in and audit from our Herefordshire Council colleagues in the quality team. We love it when they come in, and it gives us, they review our service, but that helps us to identify what we're doing really well, areas that we might want to look at, but it gives us that different sort of perspective. Sometimes we have people come in from the pharmacy and do medication audits, things like that. So there's different ways that we try and get from different angles from different external visitors as well. So we have that robust sort of oversight from a quality perspective also. So just some important things to remember as we come to the close today. Prevention is better than cure. Closed cultures can develop incrementally, so always being aware of that. It's important that we make sure that we keep evaluating, creating an open culture. We need to be proactive and work together and work across different organisations and with different agencies. That's really, really important. And be aware, notice, you know, challenge and be courageous to stop even small acts that we witness that are uncomfortable. If we don't feel comfortable with something, challenge that. Be professionally curious, so have that inquiry mindset. It's not just a tick box exercise around compliance, you know, inquire further, you know, delve into things. And remembering that safeguarding is a collective responsibility that involves individuals and organisations working together to protect vulnerable populations from harm and abuse. And I come back to my sort of first slide, actually. Remember that from the beginning, where safeguarding prevention practice is crucial because it helps to prevent harm before it occurs. So the next slide, just before we finish today, does give you some great links as well if you want to have further learning, some helpful resources there. That there's some great resources out there around different aspects of safeguarding, different preventative measures in practice. The Anne Craft Trust also has some fantastic resources, and you can sign up to them to get different updates. And obviously we've got our own pages in Herefordshire with the Herefordshire Safeguarding Adults Board page with our professional resources and some great resources on there too. And I'm just going to say a big thank you from myself and Stephen this morning. It's been lovely to come and talk to you and present and be part of Safeguarding Week, and hope you've enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you.